What's up, guys? And it is another, gorgeous, rainy, flippin' day. That really sucks. But, we are a mere 10 days away from ICC. I am stoked. I am stoked about it being at Werner Park. I am still stoked about being VIP. I am stoked to be working with such great sponsors that are going to help take care of me. Make sure you stop at the 240 at ICC. There'll be some stickers and stuff for free for you guys, courtesy of Eyes Up Auto Art. So make sure you check them out online and on Instagram. But anyways, today we're going to get into, because it's such rainy and I'm not going to take this out or anything like that, we're going to get into some 240SX buyer's guide tips, some things to look for. Since I've had this, I've had 3 other people buy 240s based on my recommendations. And what I've helped tell them what to look for, what I've showed them to look for. So this is going to be good things to look for and bad things to look for. We're not going to talk into swaps or front end, or we'll talk a little bit about front end swaps and why those are worth what they're worth. But we're not going to get into the engine swaps, why to or why not to buy certain swaps. That's going to be a preference deal. But we're going to look into what makes the 240 worth what it is and what makes it a good to buy, bad to buy. So now I'm sure if you're watching this, you're looking to buy a 240, or you've already bought a 240, you freshly bought a 240. Now this is going to be something, A, to help you flip the 240, B, to help you choose or make sure you did choose the right 240 for you. I'm sure if you're looking at 240, you've looked online and the prices are just insane right now on 240s, and I'm gonna help you not overpay. So let's get right into it. Alright, now rust is a bigger issue on these cars. I'll point out a couple of the key areas to look for that I've seen on 240s that people try to hide or cover. Now, your first thing you're going to want to look for is you want to look at your strut towers. You want to look at your tops and your sides here. A big issue people seem to have is actually right underneath of the reservoir, because if that reservoir leaks, it's going to cause some rust issues. So you're going to want to look down here, and you want to look at the frame down here, right below the brake reservoir for any your rust issues. That's going to be the same for both strut towers. You want to look at both of those, inspect both of them to make sure there is no rust issues. Now, if there is, it's not a huge deal. It's definitely something to drive the price down. But these are definitely patchable, and always keep in mind people are going to cut these out to tube the front ends. But it's definitely something you should look for, and definitely look below the brake reservoir to see if down here on the frame if it's rusting. So that's a big one to look for. This car is actually a Texas car, and I looked over it pretty good. So let's look at some other high rust spots. Now, 240 I actually helped a buddy look at is, like I was mentioning, that brake reservoir. It was leaking, and actually his firewall was rusted through. There was a hole straight through. And then it actually came into the car and it rusted out in the floor. So, what you're going to want to do is, you're going to want to pull up the carpet. This is a floor mat, but I have a hole cut here. And then I cut one over here to look at the floor to make sure nothing was rusty underneath of there. So, if you're looking at it, you might want to ask the owner. You can either cut, which I wouldn't recommend if you're looking to buy one, obviously. But you can actually pull up these kick panels and just pull up the carpet and look underneath there. But I highly suggest looking under there. Carpet's going to hide a lot, especially if it started rusting from up here and back here. You put in some new carpet or some floor mat, you're going to cover the rust. So look underneath the carpet. Okay, now under here, this is one of the bigger spots on a 240. Right here, they rust out very, very bad. As you can see, mine's pushed in here. That's on behalf of me going off the track at a drift event. But you're going to want to check that rail all the way across there. Like I said, this one's a Texas car, so this one's not rusty, but this is a very big thing. That's not a hole, that's just a, well, it's a hole, but that's what comes on the car. But anyways, you're definitely going to want to check this. This is a big thing that rusts on a lot of people's cars. They make a lot of repair patches for this. And they're not a very good patch. Some people, I've seen people patch these up super shady. I've seen people kind of just fill a rust hole and paint it. So definitely inspect right here. Watch that rail all the way down on both sides of the car and check under there. You're going to want to check under here too. It's not as big a deal. And then check your pinch welds as well. Mine's crushed from previous owner, but I mean, it's not rusty at all. It's crushed, but it's not rusty. Another thing is on these side skirts here, a lot of these hide issues. So this one here, I'll kind of look behind here like this, but you'll see, I mean, it's really clean. Yeah, the car used to be red. But this one, I mean, it doesn't have any rust holes or anything like that. So, oh, there's a little one right there, looks like. Oh, no, that's not a hole. That's just paint chipping. Nope, not a hole. Okay, good. I thought I was finding one for the first time with you guys. But, yep, just paint chip. But definitely check out under there. Use your camera, kind of record from behind when you're looking, and make sure they're not using a side skirt to hide anything from you. Now there are a couple other things to look for rust, but your main deals is there's always, I have actually yet to see one inside the trunk in that old tire pan. There's usually some surface rust, not a big deal. But your main issues, you're going to want to check your strut towers, your frame, and make sure they're not hiding anything with the rockers from you. Those are some big things to look at, and they will hide them. Don't think that a 240, they're selling gold here. They're going to hide, and they're going to try to flip it for the same reason. You're eventually going to want to get rid of it. Now, something to look for is dashes. It's really hard to find one without a cracked dash. Mine actually, we leather wrapped it to hide the cracks. Some people are going to flock them. But a good uncracked dash, especially if you plan on buying a car to gut it, to drift it or something like that, a good uncracked dash is going to help you on your budget. You can take that out and sell that for quite a pretty penny, or keep it. I recommend if you're going to cut it, sell it, get a cracked one, flock it, make yourself some money. So look at your dash stuff. Some other things to look at is where they cut corners. Now with my issue, instead of putting the S14 front on here, I mean, it was cut. It's not that bad. Not really an issue for me. But Jake's 240, that whole front end was actually zip screwed on. Nothing was tack welded. It had two self-tapping screws actually holding it in. One here, one there, and that's all that held the front radiator support on. So definitely keep your eyes on that stuff too. Don't be afraid to give anything a shake, you know. Same thing with over fenders too, going back to the rust. You're going to want to look back here behind those. You know, just take a picture, use your camera, use your best quality you can. Especially if it's a wider fender. Like here, I can actually fit my phone back here, and that's actually how I looked in here when I originally bought it, is my phone actually went through there. We jacked it up, took a wheel off, and looked through there. At that point, I was kind of committed. I drove 12.5 hours, but that's another spot where they're going to hide some rust. Now, let's look into some things to look for when you are buying it that are good things that could help you out here. Front end swaps. Whether it's an S14 or Silvia, it's going to be worth a lot more money based on the front end of the car. Whether it's, again, 13, 14, 15, anything in the front, it's going to be worth some more money. One of the things I actually always check when I'm looking at 240s online for buddies is it's something that a lot of people don't really think of at first because they think it's kind of cheaper. But this car will nickel and dime you till you're broke. And when you're broke and you think you got it fixed, it's going to do it again. Because, why? It's a 30-year-old car. It's a 28-year-old car. That's why. It's not a chassis problem. It's a 30-year-old car problem. But the 5-lug swap. I mean, with Jake's car, he's a 4-lug, and he kind of thought the same thing. Well, I'll swap it. Well, I mean, it's not as cheap as a lot of people want to think it is. I mean, it's a $500 minimum deal to do. And you go, but just by going 5-lug, you're going 5, 1, 14, 3. You're getting a whole lot of options for wheels instead of the 4-lug, which there are crap options for. Other than that, you're going to want to watch for regular maintenance. What a lot of people don't do, and I don't understand why people don't do it, is do a leak down test on the engine. I mean, do your compression test, check it over, pull out a spark plug, look what the spark plug looks like, pull the dipstick, look at the oil. Sometimes they'll change it before you get there in case if it was bad, but most of the times they won't. So just check it, make sure everything is kosher. And a lot of people, you know what? I've actually seen it two times from friends that go and look at cars. Test drive the car, and don't baby it when you're test driving. Put that pedal to the floor, row the gears. You want to check out how sturdy the car is. You want to check out how the clutch feels, how the gearbox feels, how planted the car feels. You're going to want to check all that stuff out. And just beat on the car a little bit, within reason. I mean, don't redline every single gear, but beat on it a little bit, within reason. Other than that, I mean, I'm not going to get into the why certain stuff is worth more with wings or wheels or body kits or paint or anything like that. There's just things I really want you guys to look for when doing it. I mean, look at the strut towers, the frame, firewall, anywhere around the brake reservoir, rust, and like I said, the frame stuff. I always check the front of the engine, and then I try to look from underneath where it was leaking. A lot of people clean up stuff if the engine's leaking stuff. They'll clean up the engine, but something you can't clean is the can we see it? Oh, barely, a little bit. They won't clean is that cross member. So look at that. If that's got an oil on it, or oily or residue on it, something's going on. Figure it out. Don't just assume, oh, hey, it's dirty because it's old. Wiring. Look at wiring. Wiring is going to tell you a whole lot about how that car was taken care of. Now, is it loomed? Or is it free? Look at the harness. Your harness is going to run under here, under the driver's tire. Now, on this car, mine's actually tucked up top up here. When we actually bought this is a new thing I learned actually. When we bought the S13.5, it wasn't tucked. It was on the side here. And if we would have looked when we bought it, I mean, it was all cut up and frayed and barely good to barely get it running for a while. And after a while, the car wouldn't start. It wasn't sending a fuel pump signal or anything like that. Come to find out, the wheel rubbed through it. So check that before you buy. Check that harness before you buy. Check rust. Check the overall. Overall, just make sure you're looking at your car. And those are just the things that a lot of people don't think of. A lot of people think of the frame, but they don't think of the strut tower. And if they think of the strut tower and frame, they don't think of the look below the master cylinder or the firewall, or they don't think to look underneath the carpet. So anyways, just make sure you check your stuff over. I hope I'm not rambling at this point. I think I am. It's just I've seen way too many people get screwed over on 240s. And I love these cars, don't get me wrong, but they are a pain in the butt. And if you don't find the right one, I guess, if you find, my biggest pet peeve is when someone finds a cheap $1,000 one or something like that, and they put all this money into it, and they feel like then it's, oh 240s are junk, mine did this and this. Well, you bought the wrong one. You bought one that needed a whole lot more maintenance before you stuck in all your visual stuff. So check over the cars, and these cars, you'll love them. I promise you that. It's a fun go-kart. It's basically what I call it. But look at one. Look at a buddy's. Go with a friend. Always bring a friend. Because if you want a 240, you've already fell in love with it before you got there. Especially if you've never owned one before. So you've already fell in love with it before you got there. But anyways, I hope I helped. I hope I'm helping you guys. I hope you guys now know a couple more things. Or maybe I didn't teach you anything. But hopefully I helped somebody out there look at something extra when they're buying their first, second 240SX. Hopefully if you've already bought one, now you know what to look for. So anyways, till next time guys, like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, keep on sliding.